Welcome back, MTG Joe here. We're doing kind of a hybrid weekly meta breakdown for the Explorer format. So normally we get the stats from MTG, the companion tool, but it's still pretty early into the season. Usually we need about 2 weeks of data to start aggregating what's the new cards are being played. But I've kind of curated lists across the internet that are kind of using new cards, new strategies, stuff like that. So we're going to start off, and this is going to be kind of Explorer best of 3, but some ideas can be brought over to the best of 1 meta. If you're looking for standard videos of a similar ilk, best 1, best 3, we'll get to historic as soon as I can get the data as well. I checked today, and it's all stale data as well. Not really factoring in a lot of the new cards right now. So there's always a playlist. Subscribe to the channel. You see the goal in the top right hand corner. We're trying to hit 10,000, but I try to get out weekly all the kind of changes in the meta, the best decks, everything of that ilk, so we can kind of see where the meta is kind of evolving. So we're going to start off with there's a large tournament this past weekend, the Pizzabox Open. There's 114 participants in this Explorer tournament. I actually cast the top 8 of this tournament with Hamhawk42, another content creator. These are tournaments that are free-to-play cash prize tournaments hosted by Hollywood Pizza, another content creator on their Twitch page. So if you want to enroll in these, just check out on MTG Melee. Like I said, they're free-to-play. They're really fun. If you want to see gameplay of the top 8, it's up on my channel as well. So I'm going to kind of go over where the meta settled and what some of the win rates were. I want to mention that this was the Sunday after the release, so folks were still kind of getting new cards in, stuff of that nature, but looking at overall win rate, the most represented deck was Rakdos Midrange, 14 copies out of the 114, so 12% of the field, just slightly over 50, almost 55% win rate for the Rakdos Midrange list. So this includes all the kind of variations, and I'll link all these stuff into the comments. So if you want to just see the overall distribution, I pulled out a couple lists themselves for you to see. And then Azorius Control, 14 and 19, 40% win rate, not too good. Sacrifice had a pretty good showing at 57%. Grixis Midrange, which is pretty much the Rakdos Midrange with some like Nicol Bolas and stuff mixed in. Humans didn't have that good of a show. Gruul Aggro, a couple different variations. The traditional vehicles. Then we actually had a Dragons build with Invasion of Tarkir. It's a deck I'm also building in paper for Pioneer, which is kind of cool. So we're going to look at this stuff. And then we're also going to look at MTGO League data for Pioneer to pull some of the stats and stuff. Enigmatic had a good showing. 5 Color Fires did awful, 0 and 6. So there wasn't anything like super running away. Like small sample size, 24 matches. Abzan Greasefang, still relatively high win rate, 19 and 10. You can see the top 8 of this. There we go. So top 8 was 2 mono greens, Gruul Midrange Boat, Atraxa Transmogrify, Rakdos Atraxa Transmogrify, Rakdos Sack, and Rakdos Midrange, and then Abzan Greasefang kind of mixed into there. So calling out, so the mono green list, what we're seeing with a lot of the mono green lists as well as in Pioneer, a lot of them are moving to 2 to 3 copies of Polukranos in the main. So Polukranos is another body, fairly large, 3 mana, 4/5, adds a 3 devotion. The big thing with this is when it flips, it gives you a life linker, which is something we didn't have in these mono green lists. You're often pretty weak to aggressive decks. Also, what I've discovered this week from doing coverage, so say if you have the flip side of Polukranos and then you flip a second Polukranos, the way that it's worded on the backside is when Polukranos or any other non-token Hydra, so you basically get 4 tokens instead of 2, which is kind of cool to see. This version was also trying out a copy of the new Vorinclex as Reanimator, Silverback Elder, and a Gemraiser. So some interesting inclusions there. There was also a copy of Tribute to the World Tree for some card advantage and counters as well mixed into there. Otherwise, it's still the same Karn Shell with your combo kind of tutor items in the side. The other version of Mono Green that played well was bringing a copy of Cityscape Leveler in the main, and this card did a lot of work in the coverage of the top 8. Beating up on the Atraxa decks and stuff like that. Because it's a cast trigger, you get around counters or anything of that nature. The other deck that was having a good showing was the Rakdos combo. So there's a lot of different ways to transmogrify or creativity. The target is pretty much Atraxa in all these decks, whether it be Izzet, Rakdos, any color of the rainbow, Jeskai. This is the card that you're kind of going into. This Rakdos version gives you a lot of hand hate and removal that's mixed into there. You have Liliana the Veil, eat away your opponent's hand, Death Majesty to make you tokens and reanimate, Omnixus to make you tokens to target, Fable, Life of Toshiro as another way to have a target for the creativity. And then like you see 5 pieces of hand hate, the transmogrify and creativity. You can also instant speed make a token with Rotten Reunion, and the card that, so all these lists now are switching to Volcanic Spike over Fire Prophecy. This is because this can now hit creatures, planeswalkers, or battles. Notably, the other version of the card only hit creatures, so more flexibility in this card here. Your sideboards just got more planeswalkers, some sweepers, removal, and then hand hate as well. This list was really sweet. So it is a Gruul aggro list. It is using kind of the shell that we see with vehicles, your chariots, your storm seekers, your Llanowar elves. This version here is on Thunderbreak Regent. 4 mana 4/4 that dragon, whenever a dragon you control becomes a target spell or ability, deals 3 damage to the player. Some glory bringers in there as well, and then playing Invasion of Tarkir as another kind of burn spell that you can go face or be used as scalable removal, and then the flip side is very powerful. It's got Fable the Mirror Breaker, so you can copy glory bringers every turn and exert the copy and then just blow up everything your opponent plays. I'm actually building a version of this deck in paper, like I said. Really excited to play something like that. So this one went 6 and 2. Rakdos combo went 6. How did we do? They won all but one. So they went 7 and 1 in the main. And then the mono green list went 7 and 1 as well. 8 and 2 overall with the top 8. So Gruul went 6-2. This one went 4-4. But kind of a cool list. I've seen some Phyrexians being tried out. So you got Ilias Core, Censor, the Butcher, Crawling Chorus, Missionary, Shieldred, Skrull's Hive. So it's pretty much like pretty close to a standard deck. I don't like Ossification in this list with only 4 basics, so that could probably come out. I have seen some of these lists. So it's pretty much just a standard deck that was ported over, but they did go 4-4. You have things like the Black-White Exile, I forget its name, the 2 mana Exile monocolor creature, that would be very good. Like there's some cards that you can expand on this, but even just bringing a standard deck, even just porting something over like this for standard could be pretty interesting. But seeing the Phyrexians come out. So that's from that side. Before we go to MTGO, so this is a kind of a strategy I've seen some folks talking about. I don't know how good it is just yet, but something people are trying out is obviously, so Sorin Impervious Bloodlord has been a way to cheat and to play big vampires. This new vampire that got printed is half Dino, half Vampire in Ghalta and Marvin. So it's a 7 mana 12/12 trample. When it attacks, you create either a tapped and attacking XX dinosaur with trample, where X is the greatest power among other attacking creatures, or you get to create X white vampires with lifelink, where X is the number of other attacking creatures. So you kind of cheat in this big fatty. So you have that way with Sorin. You also have Olivia Crimson Bride that lets you return a creature. So you could kind of play a way where you either loot the Ghalta away and then cheat it into play with Olivia, or cheat it into play with Sorin. You can also give it haste with Bitter Reunion. So Fable and Bitter Reunion are ways to loot the cards into your graveyard for the reanimation, plus copies of Voldaren Aperture and Bloodtithe Harvester for the blood tokens. So kind of an interesting take there on the deck. Something be interested to try it out. Haven't tried it, but I played vampires at some point. They felt pretty slow, all things considered, but this might be a new kind of inclusion. So there's 2 preliminaries for Pioneer on the 24th. So notably, Pioneer card set is not the exact same as Explorer, but a lot of times when we get new decks in Explorer, it is because they've become new decks in Pioneer and we've tried to port it over. I will say one thing, so a lot of people have been playing with the Rona, the new 2 mana legend that taps and taps with Retraction Helix, which we don't have in Pioneer. Lets you kind of go infinite. So that's a deck that might show up in Pioneer, but we just don't have the pieces right now. We have like the mono green list. We see they're trying out a couple battles, Invasion of Ikoria, Invasion of Ixalan. We see the Pelucranos in there as well. Just kind of going over quick, we see Pelucranos as well being tried out. So a lot of mono green with the Pelucranos in there. A deck that's been putting up results as well is this blue-black Rogues deck. And this is pretty much all the cards we have as well in this Explorer format. So something if you're interested in trying out. Fairy Mastermind was the most recent card that came out. It's 2 mana, 2/1, flash flying. If your opponent draws their second card each turn, you draw a card. So think if they loot with Fable, anything like that, you get that advantage. You can force some draws. It's another evasive flyer. Some Shieldreds in there, Nighthawk Scavengers, kind of mixed into there. I've seen some copies of the deck also play Zareth Sandmane, some side. But then you have Kaido Suzuki for some card advantage as well. So another very powerful rogue to kind of supplement the deck and let you play more flash speed. So interesting deck there. A lot of mono green in this first dump. Some blue-white control, mono green. Just going to skip over. Once you see one mono green, you see it all. Humans is basically trying out some copies of Invasion of Gobakan. So either 4 of those, or I've seen some Night Ranger of Eos, the new 5-mana Convoke creature that lets you get some card advantage. Both are being tried out in those mono white shells. Again, cards that you can pretty much bring over completely. The only card we're missing is a Kynthian Hero of Akros, which you don't necessarily need to play. Just Rakdos with 1 Invasion of Asgol main, so just trying out some minor tech there. Mono green, and like I said, some of the lists now are trying to play Cityscape Leveler main to help with the Atraxa decks. There's this blue-black control deck that plays like Urtai, Narset, kind of mixed into there. Some of them are playing the draw discard land from Shadows, but this is just pretty much blue-black control. This on Treasure Cruise. This on Take Through Time, so that's the only card we don't have from this. Again, so we have like a Jeskai version of, Grixis actually. So yeah, like I said, Atraxa's coming in all flavors. This was a Grixis version, Big Score, Transmogrify, Kaido to make tokens as well mixed into there. Just straight red black. Taking a look. So this is the other Torrential Gearhulk deck. So this is the other blue-black control deck. It uses Gyre Sanitarium with Narset to force your opponent to discard a card every turn, which is kind of cool. They draw discards, so you can hand lock them. Greasefang. So that was the first list. The second output, again, pretty similar. We're seeing Bankbuster getting played more in these Rakdos lists, just for more grindy card advantage matchups. So this is a strategy as well that. So we don't have Reckless Bushwhacker, but a lot of folks have been trying out the new Convoke Dino, the Imperial Allosaur, in these kind of Gleeful Demolition decks. So with Gleeful Demolition, if you target your own artifact, you get 3 1/1s. So you use stuff like Implemented Combustion, which is a cheaper artifact that lets you cycle. Experimental Synthesizer gets you some card draw and loot. You can make the blood tokens, Burning Tree, so you make a bunch of creatures, go wide, and then use the Allosaurus to have like a big creature, and then just kind of trample in. So that's kind of a strategy. This version is the Bushwhacker Surge version to give them all haste, which is a card obviously we don't have in Pioneer right now. Or sorry, in Explorer. For the Auras decks, while we don't have Gladecover Scout, they did print another Hexproof creature for 2 mana. It's also got Flash with backup that you can use as a pseudo protection spell to give something hexproof till end of turn to fizzle removal. So you can pretty much play this deck with substituting Gladecover Scout for Shram. While you're heavier in obviously the 3-drop slot, it is kind of another way to play the deck. Gladecover is impactful because it is 1 mana, so it gets you earlier on the curve. Another one of the Rogues deck. This version's a little bit slimmer. Fewer creatures in the main. We have like Invasion of Amonkhet to revise stuff, which is kind of cool. Also fuels the mill. So this one's more spell-based, tempo-y. The other one's more creature-based. So give you some options in terms of what you want to play there. So we can kind of compare it here a little bit different. So this one's on Brazen, Thieves Guild, Soaring. So all your creatures are at haste speed in this one. where this version's got like your Nighthawks and the Shieldreds in the main as well. More red-black, more mono-green, more red-black, more red-black. You heard this? So this is another list that's kind of been going around, but I played it and it felt really bad in a couple games. It's a Waste Not discard deck with Turgid. You got like the new Shieldred as well. I just felt like, especially going against like Rakdos and stuff like that, you fall behind a lot, and then you end up with like a bunch of discard cards that don't really do anything. And like if you don't have Waste Not, it's not that great. But also, I don't know if it was situational in the games I was playing against. I just kept running into like Atraxa decks. It just felt bad into stuff like that. I don't know. If you like these types of strategies, I started making a video for it. I played 2 matches and I just stopped recording because it wasn't worth it. Just wasn't having fun, and just the gameplay wasn't optimal. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, these are all stock lists. We see so here's another Gruul vehicles list that's playing the Ancient Imperial Sword. So more the traditional Gruul boats list, substituting the boat for Embercleave and then playing some chunky dinos. A lot of these lists now are switching to Lightning Strike main over the 4 damage sorcery burn-based removal spells, in part because of Greasefang. We're also seeing a lot of these Gruul lists and stuff like that play Stonebrain in the side as a way to have an answer for the Atraxa decks. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Let me know what you think, what you've been playing. If you got any cool Dragons lists, I'm picking up the cards. I picked up some of them, but if you got any kind of configurations for Dragons that you've experimented with, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you have a great one, and stay safe out there.